super excited to talk to you. You're the founder of Whole Plant Medicine. We've been working together for quite some time. We just had an exciting launch. But Whole Plant Medicine, let's just talk about the mission of the brand, kind of where we're headed. Give me a history of Whole Plant Medicine, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for linking up with me, Cameron. Really pumped to be here. Really happy to have you on the team. It's been great. This new launch has gone pretty well, so happy to get on here. And I mean, just as far as whole plant medicine goes, just a little bit of background. I mean, Whole Plant Medicine was founded in 2019, and originally it was actually just founded as a CBD company, essentially, just because it was a one product company, and that was our product, you know. And so that was actually founded through when my mom was going through chemotherapy. It was we sought all kinds of alternative things, different herbs, supplements, functional medicine, all these different things, and CBD was really just a big game changer for her. And once we found CBD like that, it was, my lifelong back pain had a huge effect from the CBD, and we were giving it to, I was just making this myself with other medicinal herbs in our own house for our own family. And as more and more people saw effects from this, I said, okay, we have to get this out into the world in a very legitimate way. So we went through the process of actually creating a company, actually creating a product. And this just jived really well with me as a person, just because I've always been big into health, supplementation, optimization ever since I was in high school, So that's always been the Rubik's Cube that I've been turning in my head of like, how can we achieve optimal health? How can we achieve optimization and just kind of like get back to our roots of like nowadays with screens and stressors and poor diet, a lot of people have so many problems. And, with simple lifestyle interventions and supplements, you can really get a huge bang for your buck that a lot of these people, the medical system isn't really giving them the outlet that they need to pursue health. So that's kind of like what the brand is to me, is how can we put health in the people's hands of, teaching people simple dietary and lifestyle interventions, simple supplements that can really move metrics in your day-to-day life of, maybe not everybody needs to be on an opioid if they have these other things that they can go through to mitigate pain on their own. And, it's just, there's a lot of things that people can do for themselves to reach optimal health. And that's really what I'm all about in my life, in my company. And it's, I've really enjoyed having you on because we really do see eye to eye with that, and it's a whole thing, whether it's nutrition, functional medicine. I'm personally in chiropractic school and I'm getting a degree in acupuncture as well. So those are two physical modalities to, pursue health and optimization, maybe avoid a surgery and have conservative care. There's so many avenues to this. And, you know, I started kind of my company with CBD, and now we're kind of branching out into all these different things of the turkesterone and the GPC. And we're going to have more to come of just all these different facets of simple interventions that people can take in their life to find that health, find that optimization of being able to be themselves.
Sure. Yeah. The putting health back in your hands, that's the slogan of the company. That's really true, right? You're describing not only physical products that are being sold, but also the information, giving it to the people, because a lot of it is kind of that ivory tower philosophy. Doctors, come to us, pay your copay, pay exorbitant insurance rates, when there could be, a modality or a supplement or a lifestyle change that could really greatly benefit them without all of that, right? I have back pain from herniated disc. When you're younger, you first getting into lifting, you ego lift a bit. I think that's the origination of that back pain. Working with a chiropractor, I learned the space a bit better, got into the space understanding, how the body moves a bit more, And then obviously I characterize myself more as a biohacker. As you know, I'm always tinkering with things. I'm playing around with what I'm eating, how I'm eating it, when I'm eating it, as well as how I'm moving, when I move, and what I'm moving from the weight perspective. And that's just like a day to day. That's not in the back of my mind. That's in the front of my mind all the time. And so when we connected at first, it was like, dude, this is just like a mirror image of me. We're just talking in a mirror to each other. Some people around us get frustrated by that. It's because I think there's such an overlap of your passions, my passions, and where we come together is that philosophy of putting health back into our own hands, and then with the whole plant medicine is putting it back into the hands of our customers and our audience.
Yeah, and people don't realize the amount of power they have, in their own life and to affect their own bodies, their own minds, like whether it's the thoughts in your own head or the interventions you make on a day-to-day life, people don't realize, like, just like what you said, what you have for breakfast, when you have breakfast, your nutritional load of if you have all your proper vitamins and minerals, like these things might be making a bigger difference than that blood test that the doctor is ordering for you and maybe putting you on some kind of synthetic drug that's going to have all of these overlapping side effects in your life. And you're not really even allowed to ask questions about that kind of stuff. It's just like, well, I'm going to this doctor and then that doctor, and then this doctor told me to go there. And they say this is wrong with me, but I have no understanding of it because all these things are so complicated. But it's at the end of the day, we really are so simple. Like people have been generally healthy across all of time. And it's just like, what are the simple things that we can do to just maintain a baseline of health? And then what are the interventions that we can do to really push those pathways to really, either come back from illnesses or nutritional deficiencies that we've acquired from modern society, or to even go into the optimization aspect of, I really want my brain to be firing on all cylinders for 8 or 10 hours a day. Okay, like what are some very simple things that I could do to push those pathways and get that optimization that I feel like I want in my life? And, people have the power to do that for themselves with simple changes.
Sure. Yeah, let's talk about that. I've got the brain fuel in front of me. So this is the latest and greatest from whole plant medicine. This is alpha GPC. So I'm actually going to take it right now. I'm going to show who is ever watching is how to take this stuff. So this is a 1 milliliter dropper. I've got the sublingual solution, and I'm going to put it under my tongue. This is how I take it. Everybody can take it differently. This is not medical advice, but this is how I, as Cameron Russell, takes the alpha GPC brain fuel. So I take it, put it under my tongue, and let it sit. What I do is I swirl it under my tongue, let it mix with some saliva, really get it in near all that very transferable pathways right into the blood. It's valuable because this is one of the supplements. Like you can take magnesium. You got to take a capsule orally. You got to wait for it to kick in. The reason why I think about that is that when you're going to bed, magnesium glycinate, great supplement to take, but you got to wait. You got to wait for it to digest, get absorbed, and actually get to the areas of effect to relax your body. With alpha GPC, specifically the way we formulated the brain fuel is that it's sublingual, right? So we're able to put it under our tongue, and it's not instantaneous. It's not like a shot of alcohol, which you might feel right away, there's no supplements that really hit as fast as the feelings you get when you take sublingual GPC, in my opinion. What are your thoughts on?
I completely agree. I'm a huge fan of the, dropper-based sublingual type of dosing, just because of one, that sublingual absorption, which you're going to get higher absorption rates and you're going to get faster absorption times into the bloodstream. So, obviously we have our alpha GPC, which has the tincture, which is awesome. But the other thing is not only that sublingual absorption rate and time and percentage, but you also get the variability of dosing, you know? So what you're going to see a lot of times in the alpha GPC market, you're going to see a lot of pre-workouts and nootropics just kind of throw alpha GPC in there because nowadays it's a little bit becoming a buzzword of people understand that it works. But when you just put 50, 150, 200 milligrams into something that you might not even be taking the full dose of, what is that doing for you? You know, whereas this is 300 milligrams per tincture, and you could take two, three, four, however many you feel that you need, and you can really max that pathway out and really dial in that dosing of what kind of choline dose you want and what you need at that moment, you know. Whereas if it's part of a big proprietary blend or it's in a drink or it's in a powder, you're getting a subclinical dose that's not going to have any effect, and you can't really play with the dosing. And that's something that we kind of figured out through our CBD tinctures, is that
That's
like,
what I mean.
yep, right there. So this is a 1,200 milligram tincture. If I'm going to bed, I could take the whole thing, 40 milligrams, right in one shot. But if it's the morning, I'm having some back pain, maybe you know, that coffee hit me a little bit too hard, I'm a little shaky, I can take 10 milligrams, and that's just gonna make my back pain kind of calm down and kind of take the stress out of the day, but it's not going to knock me out. And so it's like that same variability of dosing that you don't really get from like a pill or a big proprietary blend powder. And I'm really a huge fan of that, especially with this GPC, just because it's so effective in one ingredient nootropic of, if you get that efficacious dose, it really makes a difference with that pathway it pushes.
Right. Yeah. I think a lot of people miss misunderstand supplements. They think the supplement is the supplement. So if I'm taking alpha GPC, I'm set. Efficacious dosing is something that is being talked about more, but it's never going to be talked about enough. When I'm seeing my favorite pre workout at 200 milligrams per serving, that's okay. Great. I have it in the supplement, but then when I stack brain fuel on top of the pre workout, I go from a little bit of hype from the caffeine and a bit of focus from all the mix of that proprietary blend. Now I'm lasered in. I'm ready for a really solid workout where I'm not distracted as much by my phone. I'm not distracted by the people in the gym. I'm ready for the next set. And then, in my experience, I've noticed that my post workout fatigue, I leave the gym, you're all ready to go and do work. And then you hit that fatigue state where your neurotransmitters are just sapped. You've moved heavy loads, and now you're sapped and you just can't function. And if I dose brain fuel ahead of the workout, I have a great workout, and then I'm able to carry that momentum into some work after the fact. Or if I'm not thinking about dosing it ahead of time, if I dose it after the fact, I ameliorate those downsides of that heavy workout, and now I'm able to go into doing some work, doing some reading, studying, whatever, and really still be as focused as if I hadn't hit that heavy workout. And that's just a beautiful benefit of something like a high dose of GPC.
Yeah, that's a great point, Cameron. I mean, that's pretty much how I use it personally, probably the most often. I do use it as a pre-workout a lot, but other than, you know, that's pretty simple. Like just take it before your workout and that's gonna
Right.
help with your workout. But the one of the ways that I really enjoy that might not be what everybody would think of is it's my go-to non-stimulant nootropic. So if I get home from, let's just say, the gym or a long day, it's like 8, 9 o'clock, I've had dinner, I'm just tanked, but I have, you know, X number of things to do that need to get done before I go to bed. Alpha GPC has been my go-to for years at this point of, it is just too late for coffee. I can't have coffee, you know, but like my brain is just tanked. I'm sitting there and I'm just like looking at the screen like, oh no, what's going on? And it just really, when your brain fires all day, part of the reason that it stops working at maximal capacity is just the inputs, you know? And that's one of the things that I love about alpha GPC. It's not like a drug that goes in there and like opens all your calcium channels or something like a
Right.
pharmaceutical would. This is just giving you more, it's like stacking up the logs next to your fireplace. It's just giving you more logs to throw in there. And a lot of times at the end of the big day, your brain is just burnt through all its fuel. So you're just giving it more of that fuel that, as you use more acetylcholine for more nervous system synapses through your brain as you're using it at a high level, you're running out of choline that's available. You're having to mobilize your reserve supplies. And so this just keeps your intravenous blood levels of choline high as they can be. So your brain doesn't go into that, deficiency, so to speak, of acetylcholine.
Right. And that deficiency is that brain fog. I know you can get brain fog from a variety of factors, but I feel that the primary driver of brain fog is deficient blood serum choline levels. Because yes, you might get a euphoria after running, but you'll notice that your actual brain performance isn't there. You might
Mm-hmm.
be ready and excited to do the work, but there's been studies showing that endurance athletes, after they have depleted their levels of acetylcholine, they won't perform as well with endurance activities. And then likewise, there's 1,001 studies about how deficient levels of choline in the blood will result in lack of focus, lack of motivation, and then the opposite is true, right? It's critical to notice that not only are deficient levels indicative of reduced performance, it's that when you supplement from a reduced state, you will see in studies benefits of that supplementation in improved performance above the baseline. And so you see that with choline. That's why it's a really cool supplement. I think that it will be at one point, I believe it's going to be the future of creatine, the future of creatine, right? Everybody talks about creatine, the most studied, it's the most beneficial. Well, not everybody works out. Not everybody wants to be the most jacked, look, hydrated, and, move the most weight. Everybody wants to get more out of their life. And I think that's what the nootropic category does, is it's not just, okay, I can lift more in the gym. Okay, I can look bigger. It's physically get more out of life. You can be more alert at a dinner with your family. Like, it's as silly as that sounds, that's critical for somebody who's killing themselves at work all day, wants to be focused, and wants to continue that to the end of the day. Right?
Yeah, nobody likes feeling sapped. Nobody likes feeling like they have no more brain effort left to give to whatever it is. If it's, a side project or the rest of the work you have to finish, your family, your workout after a long day of work, whatever it is, you don't want to feel like you're sapped. You don't want to feel like you're tapped for the day. You just need to get to bed. Um, and you brought up a great point just as far as like the choline deficiencies. That's one thing I think that resonates with people a lot because everybody's heard that, egg yolks are good for your brain because they have a lot of choline in them.
Right.
Or everybody's heard like people can be deficient in choline, like, oh, they don't, if somebody doesn't eat a lot of eggs or they don't eat salmon or these other great sources of choline, they might become choline deficient. And then, you might find yourself in a doctor's office getting blood tests and they say, oh, you don't have enough choline. That's why you have brain fog and that's why you have fatigue and all these things. And so that's kind of like the long term. But the short term is also very interesting to like extrapolate that to. It's like, okay, if you don't have any choline in your diet over the course of a month, you're going to develop fatigue and brain fog. But like, if you've used all of the stores of choline that you have for that day, are you also going to get brain fog? So it's like, all right, so do people feel more on the ball when they're eating more salmon, eating more egg yolks? And then what if we just push that pathway to the max? What if we just said, okay, your brain's going to have as much acetylcholine as it can possibly make, irregardless of the nutrients necessary to make it. And, that's, I don't know, it works for me. It's been very interesting to see how obviously on a chronic level that works, but how can we zone that in to on an acute level? If I take a big dose of choline, how does that affect that brain fog, fatigue, feeling buoyant for the day, whatever you want to call
Right. I think, yeah, I definitely think that that's critical. Looking at the narrow window, right? I think a lot of the supplements that we might take whether it be zinc or copper or iron. Those are larger time scale supplements, and that's also why the industry gets a bad rap. Is, oh well, will I notice a difference? And then the argument is always, oh, well, you're sure you're going to notice a difference when you're so deficient that you're at a significant deficit, or that you've restored that deficit if you're so worn down and so deficient. Okay, we're going to alleviate that by reduce that deficiency. This is something that stacking that proverbial stack of fire logs beside the fire allows you to get almost immediate performance improvement. Reduce that brain fog, get that motivation. There was a study about how supplementation of GPC increases motivation in an acute sense, and that's data, studies, research that is proving the things that we experience on a day-to-day basis, our customers are experiencing when they take the stuff, and it's really fascinating. I want to kind of take a left turn. I did get a question the other day about can you get an overdose of choline, and I think that I did some digging into that because I know the answer. I thought I knew the answer, so I did some digging, and there is a concern of choline overdoses. Of, hey, if I'm taking high dose choline, what's going to happen if I have too much? Well, it's interesting. It's unlike other supplements that might be a hybrid stack. We've seen competitors that have you're adding the fuel to the fire, but you're also stopping the fuel in the fire from the ashes from burning and getting removed. And that's that overdose scenario where you've added too much fuel and you're not letting the ashes get removed. You're going to have an issue. And that's that overdose. So what's interesting about when you're doing choline supplementation is your body can flush out extra. So if you're in too high of a state of choline, there's generally accepted that you can flush that out. When you have stacks of nootropic supplements that are combinations of multiple supplements, so something like a huperzine A, which is club moss extract, that will stop the breakdown of that acetylcholine, which is that neurotransmitter that we're kind of trying to supplement. And if you're supplementing choline and preventing its breakdown, that's when you'll get an overdose scenario. So I figured I wanted to address a specific question I had gotten. I don't know if you have any other questions that you had seen from customers or people you've talked to.
Well, just to add on to that point before we go any further, I totally agree with exactly what you're saying. That's awesome. And just to even put it in perspective, so each one of these droppers, full droppers, is 300 milligrams, and the serving size that it says on the container is 600 milligrams. The average, the RDA for an adult male is between 550 and 600 milligrams. So you're getting your RDA right there. But generally, if you look into optimal RDA, because the RDA was developed by the FDA to see what was the minimal amount of vitamins and minerals that somebody would need to carry a box and not fall over in the army during World War II. So, okay, you're not going to die. If you go below that, you're going to start seeing some significant, detractors on your state. And in general, a lot of these optimal numbers that you'll see are going to be double, triple, or even 4 times that number. So, I mean, a large percentage of people in populational studies will be deficient. So a lot of people aren't even getting that 550 to 600 milligrams. So, adding in 300, 600 milligrams is well within the safe realm of just, milligrams compared to the amount that our body uses.
Sure. There we go. One of the other things I want to note on the topic of kind of overdosing on something, it sounds really scary, but what's really interesting is the overdose symptoms of choline is the same as deficiency. So if you go too far, you supplement, oh, I'm 6 doses in today, what's going to happen? You're going to start to experience some brain fog and the same symptoms as being deficient in it. What's also interesting is a ton of your body uses choline, right? It's in your skin cells, it's in your muscle cells. So it's not just in your brain. So it's not something that you're going to overdose and have so much in it, so much in one spot that it's not going to be used in other places. Choline's a critical, it's a required nutrient for your body, not just as a nootropic, not just as something to get above and beyond performance. It's a required nutrient for your body, and that was only recently, or relatively recently, agreed to be a required nutrient. Which is, I think, is fascinating. That new science comes out, new standards come out. It was the RDAs were developed for military to carry a box. How do we prevent our? What's the minimum we can give them to make sure they don't pass out or die? But we see that across a lot of things. We see standards shift over time, right? We testosterone is a great example. I don't want to get too into that, but we've seen that sliding scale, that range that's acceptable, shifting down over time, and some people get frustrated by that because it's showing suboptimal levels of health. So potentially, I'm not going to make a claim right now, but potentially the choline levels were even higher. What would it be a recommended, not daily allowance, but recommended daily dose? Potentially that could be much higher than what the RDA is, the recommended daily allowance.
Yeah, even for the RDA, I mean, what I found to be very interesting is that for pregnant and breastfeeding mothers, it goes up by between when you're pregnant, it goes up by about 50, and then when you're breastfeeding, it goes up by over 100. So it's one of those things that's critical in brain development of infants, and either in utero or in infants through the breast milk. And it's like that's a huge thing right there. It's one of those critical nutrients for kids right there with B12 and folate that they tell mothers, like, you should be supplementing, or it's actually going to affect brain development if you're deficient in this. And I mean, it just goes to show how critical this is in the way that your brain operates.
Right. Yeah. There's the nootropic benefit, but then also that critical nutrient element of it. The studies are showing the significant demands of this as a nutrient from when you're 3 months to 6 months to a year old. It escalates dramatically of how much is actually required, because those are those critical stages of brain development. When you're an infant, growing into a toddler, your brain is just exploding in size and exploding in complexity. And this is one of those nutrients that clearly is correlated to that development. So I did want to get into a little bit of, like, outside of the nootropic benefits. There was a study about neuroprotective benefits. I don't know if you got a chance to give it a read.
Yeah.
So we talk about brain fog, but there's the other side is your neurons can get damaged over time, right? You do environmental things. You drink a little alcohol because you're having your friends over. You're having wine with your beautiful red steak. Those are all things that are causing potential damage to your brain. What was the study basically saying that I had sent over to you?
Basically, just the neuroprotective aspect of dietary choline. I mean, they look at all these neurodegenerative issues. If it's just mental, cognitive scores going down as you age, or if it's actually, Alzheimer's or dementia. And, they have a lot of different reasons for this, but some of that is just like the brain is not getting the right fuel. It's not being able to get rid of its waste. And it's like these very simple things that are over time really becoming a burden on the brain. So it's like, if we can make sure that our brain's operating critically now, the best measure of health we have for the future is how healthy we are now. So, the more optimal that our brain is working now, those nutrients going in and that waste coming out, that's going to, it's only beneficial going forward. So, I mean, with all these cognitive decline type things, there isn't one thing that they say is the definite, but I mean, in this study, at least specifically, it does say that it can prevent or decrease age-related memory decline, and can possibly have some protective benefits for the brain. And I mean, it just makes common sense, really. I mean, it's not like some massive claim, like it's not going to be a cure or anything like that. But, the healthier your brain is now, the more benefits you're going to have going forward.
Right. Yeah. I think the dementia and Alzheimer's studies are really interesting. As you know, they're the worst case scenario for brains, right? They're the ones that are suffering the most. They're experiencing memory, spatial reasoning, analytical ability decline. That you can map that out to how that could benefit you when you're not at that stage in life. Somebody, target demographics for nootropics are people from 18 to 35, which is the same range as most supplements. And that's the target demo for most things. But what people don't realize is, your brain from the instant you're past that crest, you're declining, right? You're aging, your joints are wearing out, but your brain's also declining. And so, giving that fuel to the brain, giving it the most neurotransmitters to fire off, gives you the best chance of success, right? An aging car, you're not going to give it the crummiest gas. You're going to try to give it, regular oil changes. You're going to try to, give it a good air filter every once in a while. You're going to take care of it, and then it's going to run for a long time without, sputtering down the road. Same thing with your brain. You got to treat it right. And so,
And changing the air filter is not going to change something in the engine, but it's
right.
going to support the engine to do its job the best. And, that's kind of the angle that we're coming at this one. So that's
Right.
I love that. And even just from an anecdotal thing, I mean, my grandma on my dad's side is dealing with neurodegenerative decline. And, I've got her on GPC. I mean, I don't know, I'm somebody who's just say, try anything. If it helps 0.01%, that was something, so not making claims or anything like that, but I thought that it was beneficial enough to say it's worth a try, and, I mean, we'll see how she feels with it and everything else, but it was, at least for me, it was enough to say it's worth a try.
Yeah. I had somebody in my circle who took the MCAT and absolutely knocked them out of the park. And, this isn't going to make you a stellar student. It is going to allow you to have the resources available, the focus available, the motivation that allows you to perform your best. If you're a stellar MCAT tester, you're going to perform at that level. The other day I had a really important presentation that I had to kill, so I mega dosed the brain fuel, and I think I knocked it out of the park. I think that's what the resounding feedback was from that meeting, and I think that having those resources is something that any biohacker, any person that really wants to get the most out of life, really should take advantage of.
Completely agree.
Let's touch on the. I've got three of the CBD supplements in front of me. I've got tincture, the balm, and then the capsules in front of me. And I just want to ask from, as I wasn't part of the CBD ideation process, I've got the balm in front of me. What is the reason I would want to take the balm or use this in my day-to-day life or in athletic performance?
So I've got the balm here too. It's just like a green sports balm. Once you rub it in, it doesn't really affect the color of the skin, but it's really great because it's a very, very high concentration of CBD. You put the tiny little bit on your finger and you have a huge dose of CBD. And so anything that's a very like superficial type of ache and pain, like if it's way deep in the joint, it's not really the right application. But something like, especially like wrists and hands, where like the mechanism of the inflammation is much closer to the surface,
Sure.
it makes a really big difference. Of You could put it on that sore spot if it's a knee, an ankle, any, even, I put it on my shoulders all the time just for the muscular aspect of like I hit shoulder day, my trap was getting kind of a little too involved. I can throw this on there and it really just relaxes that muscle. And, so I've got the CBD in there. I've got arnica, calendula, and then just essential oils and other things. But those are homeopathic blends. Just like one is like a menthol, and the other one is for muscle healing. So there's a multiple different things that are working in this, and it has a really big impact on that local inflammation, that local muscle tightness, that local pain. It does, give that cooling sensation that can help really decrease the pain sensation in that area. And I mean, when I have a sore muscle or a sore joint, this is the first thing I reach to just like throw it on there. I used to use Tiger Balm, and I don't even think I own any anymore.
Yeah, I think this is, above and beyond the best topical solution for especially after my bench days. My shoulders get so beat up. A little application on the front of the shoulder, symptoms go away, overnight. I'll put it on before I go to bed. And, next day it feels like I didn't even hit a bench session in terms of, I know you said deep in the joint, but, that the tendon from the bicep that runs through the shoulder, that gets so beat up. And, I'm trying to reduce the inflammation, trying to reduce the wear and tear on that tendon is really important, because I don't want to be 60 years old and hobbling around and complaining about the days that I was this and I was that. And I'd rather be able to do that when I'm at that age. So I think
Listen to the body's whispers, and you won't have to hear it yell at you.
yes, it's a good way of putting it. How about the tincture? We talked about brain fuel as a tincture. How about CBD as a tincture?
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of the CBD tincture. It's really my go-to is the 1200 milligram tincture, which is the stronger one. A full dropper of this is 40 milligrams. And so generally how most people take the CBD to start is an hour before bed, take about 20 milligrams. And that's like just a really general dose for most people, but you will have to find your dose. Like I tend to take between 40 and 80 milligrams before sleep, just because I'm a little bit of a bigger guy. I tend to have a little bit more of a tolerance to things. And that gets me out for the night like a baby. It is just amazing. But I like the tincture because CBD has all these different benefits, be it inflammation, be it pain, be it anxiety or stress. And that variable dosing, I can take a huge dose early in the night if I want to kind of flip my circadian rhythm. Oh, I went to bed at 1 o'clock the last few nights. Okay, I'm going to take 80 milligrams at 9 o'clock and be in bed early and get a full night's sleep.
Right.
Or I can take 5 milligrams with my coffee and be like, I get a little too jittery and stressed out. I have a crazy day. That's going to take the edge off of that. Or, oh man, I really messed up my shoulder on that bench day. And the next day you're like, you want to reach for an Advil. Personally, I would reach for 5 or 10 milligrams of CBD. Not enough to get you tired, but enough to really make a difference in those metrics of the way that you're, perceiving the pain from your joint or the inflammation. And it's really a game changer. It's a great thing to have in my cupboard for all of those different things: pain, sleep, inflammation, stress, anxiety. It's really amazing.
Yeah, I took being a biohacker kind of guy, I have soft gels. So I actually took the 1200 milligrams, made three 00 capsules, and popped them in. I hadn't tracked my caffeine that day, and going to bed, and I was like, I am ready to kill the day. It's like it's first thing in the morning, so I realized I really needed to kind of put myself to sleep. So I took those three capsules. I slept like a baby. I felt like a champ the next day, despite the fact that I was probably in the territory of 300 to 500 milligrams of caffeine. Again, I didn't track it that day, which was really an oversight. But all that had happened after 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So like I would have been up till 2 in the morning. This put me to bed, and I was able to kill it the next day.
And you'll hear all kinds of benefits from CBD. You'll hear anecdotally people tell you, all kinds of things that I don't want to like say as a claim, but it's just the fact that this is something that just helps you relax. It helps you be able to take a deep breath, shift yourself into that rest and digest state. And in our modern society with caffeine and screens and go, 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 there's always something next to. People can be in that fight or flight response, that sympathetic tone for God knows how long, and it can be really hard to shift into that rest and digest state of like getting a true good night's sleep or really being able to relax and eat and digest your food properly. And so this is just one of those things that helps shift you into that. And when you're in rest and digest, that's when your body goes into repair mode. All of those things that have been coming up on the check engine light of your body, they don't get addressed while you're in fight or flight. This might be a lion right here. I got to run for my life. It's in rest and digest when your own body gets to start healing itself in the things it's been trying to address for a long time, but it hasn't had the space. So you give your body a deep breath and a night to just be stress free and calm. All of a sudden your body starts working wonders for itself. And that's really the beautiful thing about CBD, I think.
Yeah, I think it's strange. I think you people have radically different experiences. Some people are non-responders. Some people are hyper responders. It's like caffeine. Some people can have a cup of coffee and then take a nap. Some people can
Mm-hmm.
have a cup of coffee and be off the walls. I know somebody who had a Red Bull for the first time. They were chaotic, to say to say the least. They're just a hyper responder. They so with CBD, it's the same thing. I think I'm generally speaking kind of down the road with CBD. With a lot of supplements, I'm very much in the middle. I don't hyper respond to things, but mega dosing, I really think the in the supplement space, mega dosing on the supplements that are able to do that is one of those things that works for me. When I mega dose something, I can see a benefit in an acute sense, and I can dial that back. You mentioned that a little CBD in your coffee. You know, I'm not going to say that I'm going to step away from buttered coffee, but when I know that I want to enjoy my cup of coffee, but I also don't want to be jittery, because that's one of the absolute downsides of caffeine is, although you can ameliorate symptoms of ADHD with a little dose of caffeine, too much caffeine can make you the most ADHD person ever. And so I've noticed that CBD does that. It kind of pulls that, it reins it in. It reins in that the benefits of caffeine to be actually usable. Sit down, do some writing on a cup of coffee. It's not going to happen. I'd rather check emails and also look at that and also look at the other thing. It's chaos. But dialing that back, focus in on the writing that I need to do. If I'm going to write a press release, that's the go-to. Being that smooth. People call it the flow state for a reason, and that's the kind of mental feeling that you're having. I don't know if we have any experience. Have you stacked some CBD and some brain fuel for like a morning routine yet?
Not in the morning, but I have, as far as usually it's with caffeine. So, like, I guess maybe like a mid afternoon thing, because actually, um, I had a day that I had like multiple tests, and you take a 2 hour test, and it's exactly that brain fatigue that we've been talking about
Right.
of like, oh my God, I don't have any neurotransmitters left, and you're like, so that was kind of my stack is, okay, I'm going to have a very big cup of coffee, and then I'm going to have the brain fuel of, I think that I took 900 milligrams or so. And I also took about 5 or 10 milligrams of CBD of just like, I don't want those. I do use caffeine a lot, especially if it's in the morning or in the midday. And it's like, you don't want those side effects of the caffeine, and CBD really does help me mitigate those side effects. Despite the fact that I do use caffeine, I'm able to still operate pretty normally. I don't get too, like anxious or jittery, and it helps a lot with that.
Sure. Yeah, and that was the other thing. You said 900 milligrams. That's because that worked for you. If you
Yes.
wanted to dial that back and you only took 600 milligrams, you dial that back even further. You take 300. Again, the beauty of not having it in a capsule. Capsules that I think generic capsule is 200 milligrams. One of those capsules that you would take a 200 milligram dose of alpha GPC for a powdered form has a bunch of fillers in it. That's another side effect of not having it in that liquid form, is there's a bunch of fillers that they don't disclose. And if they do disclose, it's some generic, hey, it's rice flour or something like that. And so being able to dose it to your precise dose without any of that is just a really beautiful solution.
I know that both of us have dealt with all kinds of digestional issues, and that's something that people do talk about a lot of. whether it's the type of capsule or the fillers used, sometimes they can really set people's digestive systems off. And, sometimes people don't look at that kind of stuff. So it's very key.
Yeah, I think having the mindset of being a biohacker, or somebody who likes to play around with all those aspects of their lifestyle, diet, nutrition, lifestyle, movement, things like that, it really makes you like to some extent micromanage, and you're micromanaging a lot of things, but then you know the important things are the boxes that you want to check. Are you getting the nutrients? Okay, the other night I had some beef heart. That was a really great solution for me to get a ton of really bioavailable antioxidants. Got my protein in, but I also wanted to enjoy the food that was at the table. So like when we're micromanaging things as small as like whether it be a vegetable capsule or a beef capsule, the most mainstream people don't care about that, but it's a readily accessible box you can check by taking these liquid solutions, the alpha GPC in it's got, let's just go through it. Actually, I figured I'd pick up the bottle. We got deionized water and vegetable glycerin, and then you got your alpha GPC. Is there any word in there that's super complicated? It's pretty standard, right? You've got three components to it, and it's a beautifully clean, simple solution. With CBD, it's similarly simple. It's certified organic, 100% MCT oil from fractionalized coconut oil, and then all of that has CBD infused into it. Boom. Like, do I need to have a science degree to read those ingredients like you do in other supplements? Not at all.
Simple is better. And I mean, we even just look at the supplement or nutritional labels in the grocery store. I mean, your average snack bar is like takes a degree to to decode what the heck is in those things. So simple is really better when it comes to, I mean, generally anything that you're putting in your body.
Right. Yeah. I think in the direction that company's heading, whole plant medicine is heading. We started with the Turk. It's a one ingredient supplement. We moved to alpha GPC, brain fuel, another one ingredient supplement. Whether we do move to formulas that are stacks is some conversation I think we're going to have. Using our understanding of biology and the benefits of specific stacks. That's I think a conversation we're going to end up having. But right now these one ingredient solutions allow you as a customer to figure out what works for you, right?
Absolutely. People can dial it in to whatever degree that they want for that specific metric.
Right. So, let's shift gears a little bit. Outside of we've been chilling our supplements for a little while. Let's talk lifestyle and biohacking and stuff like that. Have you been playing around with any kind of a new workout routine or anything like that?
So I did about 2 weeks of kickboxing. So that was a nice little break from strength training. I mean, I definitely over the winter didn't exactly double down on my cardio, we could say. So that was a nice little thing to just kick it in the butt, kind of get that cardio aspect back, remind myself that I was a little bit out of shape when it comes to the cardiovascular health. So that was a little fun sidestep. I mean, right now I'm back in the gym just doing normal strength training, but adding that cardio back in. So I think that generally mixing it up when it comes to exercise can be really great to get fresh eyes, fresh, walk in the gym a lot more excited to do the same thing you were doing before when you get to change it up a little bit, hit the bag, get some aggression out, everything like that.
Sure. Yeah, I'm looking at getting some cardio in one day. No, I do have some cardio. I did acquire a really awesome road bike recently. So
Nice.
I'm looking to get some miles on the road, some rubber to the pavement, put in some miles before work and things like that. But I am a fair weather cardio person. When it does get cold, I'm not the kind of person who's going to go out and do running in the rain. I'll do some miles on the stationary bike. I'll do some miles on the treadmill, but you won't see me running through the rain. Not a David Goggins in that respect, but you'll see me once it warms up a little bit. I'll be putting in some miles there.
I'm a big fan of like just low heart rate, steady state stuff. I mean, like if you're gonna go for some run one time a week and try to see how many calories you can burn, you're probably much better off going for a couple 10-minute walks every day, or a half-hour walk every day. Just like that constant movement is just really, really good for every aspect of your body. So yeah, I mean, I think getting those building blocks in place first of like, okay, let's get my daily life a little bit more active of I don't just sit in a chair for 5 days a week and then do cardio for 1 or 2 days a week, of just getting your normal life, like take the stairs, go for a walk after your meal, go for a half-hour walk. And that's like the building block. And then from there, you can add on these bigger metrics of, going for runs and doing other kinds of cardio.
Yeah, sure. The Mark Bell philosophy is, after dinner, get a walk in, just a 10-minute
Yeah.
walk. So his philosophy, it's very true, right? A lot of people don't get enough steps in. A lot of people sit a lot. You might see my shoulders wobble a little bit. I'm on my wobble stool right now.
Nice.
So again, that's that biohacking thing. This is a recent acquisition. I was really hating the binary setup I had. I had a standing desk, or I was sitting in an office chair, and I just didn't like that. So I found that this pedestal wobble stool really, does wonders. I can wobble, I can let my lower back move, let that joint move. It's definitely helped me in a lot of ways. Um, but yeah, I think this has been a great conversation. I want to wrap it up with you know we kind of hinted at it, but the direction of the company, content that they're going to see on social medias for whole plant medicine.
Just general lifestyle interventions, how you can, we really do want to put that health back in your hands. We want to empower our customers to say, you can live a healthy life. You don't need a doctor. You don't need, I mean, you need a doctor, but like, you don't need for every single micromanaged thing of your life, you don't need a doctor. Uh, there's so many powerful interventions that people can do for themselves with food, diet, lifestyle, supplements. And, that's really the direction of having, making intentional positive changes in your own life to get a healthier outcome of, you know, if it's I can pick up my kids, or it's I don't fall asleep at lunch, or any of these things that people deal with, that, just like I said earlier in the podcast, you listen to your body's whispers and you won't have to hear it scream. And a lot of times people just don't want to pay attention to anything. And by the time that they're addressing the issue, it's a huge problem. It's some named medical diagnosis, versus if you can address, okay, am I eating 3 meals a day? What's the content of those meals? What's the quality of those meals? Like what are some nutritional deficiencies? You're getting ahead of your problems, and it's also going to affect you in the short term of, you're going to be happy, healthy, strong, positive attitude. All of these different things are going to be increasing in your life. So that's really what I'm focused on. I think that's what we're focused on. That's the mission of the company. And, we're all about giving the power to the people, how to make intentional positive changes in their life for increasing their health.